Hello friends, and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to be doing our first reading journal kind of video. So I don't officially have like a special reading journal, but I do have a commonplace journal that I use for pretty much everything. So all of my reading spreads go in there, and I just kind of create them as I finish a book. So today we have 4 spreads, and these are obviously recorded over different time frames. These are books that I've read in the past 2 months. The reason why I don't have a special reading journal is just because I don't do enough reading, because I don't have a lot of free time. So yeah, the reading doesn't get done as quickly as maybe other people, so that's why I don't bother with a reading journal, because I feel like the monthly setups and everything would kind of be wasted on me, because I don't necessarily always read every single month. Well, I do, but I don't finish a book every single month. But I have finished 2 books this month already, so I am getting better. And I also ended up making a spread, or 2 spreads for 1 book, because I just really enjoyed it and wanted to create a spread about some of the places in the book. So yeah, because I don't have a specific reading journal, it does give me that freedom to create pretty much anything about the books that I read. So this first book is one that was recommended to me by my pen pal, so thank you Mallory, and this is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book is just amazing. I absolutely loved it, and I finished it pretty quickly. I think within a week I finished the book, and then the day after I ordered the second one. I was going to order it from the library because I tend to switch up between audiobooks and the physical book, just because that's kind of my style of reading, because as I said, I don't have much time, so having that audiobook gives me the freedom to read whilst I'm packing Patreon rewards or editing a YouTube video, or when I'm driving to work and back. I usually listen to my audiobook. And then when I'm at home in the evening or any other time I want to read, then I will just pick up the physical copy. I also don't want to have lots of books in my house because I just don't have the space for it. And I don't really want to have like a huge collection and want to spend lots of money on books. So my mum is a librarian, so she just orders me all the books that I want, and then I just pick them up from her. So it's really easy for me to do that. And I did also used to be a librarian myself. Just a little side note there, before I became a teacher. So yeah, I did used to be way more of a reader than I am now, so it has been really exciting to get back into reading. But yeah, back to this book. This book is a fantasy story, and it's also set in the past. I don't necessarily know what time or like era it is, but it's like they're writing via typewriters, so yeah, that's all you need to know. It's a really great book for anyone that is into pen paling as well, because there's lots of magical letters. It's a love story. It's enemies to lovers as well, which is the first time I think I've actually read an enemies to lovers book, and I have to say I did really like that kind of storyline. And because of the blue front cover, I really wanted to create kind of a magical theme around it. And because my pen pal recommended that I read this book, she also sent me a pen pal letter decorated in the theme of it, kind of as like a book recommendation. So she also sent me loads of stationery which was themed around it, hence why I have these really cute like pet tape pictures that I ended up sticking on. So yeah, I just went for like a magical kind of vibe. And then because obviously they are writing on typewriters, I really wanted to add the stamped title at the top. And then I'm just adding the date that I finished the book, or that I'm creating this spread. So yeah, this one was really fun. So you can probably guess what the next book will be. And I also want to say, because obviously these were all filmed at different times, the lighting is different, and the one that you've just seen is probably the worst lighting out of all of them, so it gets better, I promise. So the next one, the front cover is also really pretty, and I have the hard cover of this because this is the one that I bought on Amazon as soon as I finished the other book because I really wanted to start it. So obviously I went for a red theme, and there were lots of stars and sparkles in this book, even around like the chapter names, so I did try and incorporate that where possible. I do also want to point out that I will not be sharing any spoilers, so you don't have to worry about that. I like to watch other people's reading journal updates to get ideas about books that I want to read, and I really do not want to hear any spoilers, so I will be doing the same for you. So this book, Ruthless Vows, is obviously the second part to the duology by Rebecca Ross, and it continues the story of Iris and Ronan, and they are kind of far away from each other now, and it was just really nice to follow their love story kind of like continued, as obviously it all kind of come together in the last book. I saw somebody else's review about this, and they said that they really didn't enjoy the second book as much as the first one, but for me, I actually really preferred the second book to the first one, and I think that was because we got to see a lot more of the characters. So these two characters are living in this world where there is like a huge war going on between two gods, and we didn't really get to hear that much about the gods or see what they were up to. It was all just kind of like in the distance. So it's been really interesting to find out more about those characters in the second book. Obviously I won't tell you why, but yeah, it was a really interesting one to read, and again I finished it really quickly and I just loved it. So this really got me back into the fantasy series, and I have carried on reading ever since I finished this book. So I went for like a red theme to match, and I had this really cute typewriter paper, which of course I had to include, and then I also wanted to add this envelope sticker to kind of reference the love letters that they send to each other, and I do try and match the theme of my journal spread to the book that I've read. That might just be in like the colour theme rather than what the book is about, but where possible I would like to do that with my spreads. So yeah, that is why I kind of try and incorporate little Easter eggs where if you've read the book you will kind of get the hints, but if not, it just looks like a cute spread. So again, I carried on with the title and did the exact same thing as the first spread because again, more typewriters. And yeah, I do really recommend that you read this book because it is just a beautiful story, and the way that she writes it is really nice. And also the audiobook, the person that reads it, it's really fun to listen to. Like some of the books that I've read, like I read the Atlas 6 via audiobook, and I really did not enjoy the readers on that one. I don't know why. Their voices were just kind of like stressing me out a little bit because they kept switching characters but then talking as themselves but as the other characters and then putting on voices. But this audiobook is really nice to listen to, so I did really enjoy this one. And then I added some bow stickers from a previous Patreon reward of mine, and then here are the little sparkles that I'm adding, which I also put onto the previous spread too. I'm just seeing if there is any extra stickers that I could possibly add, and I had a little quote sticker that said a love letter, so I felt like that one made sense to add. If you have already watched my journal flip through as well, you would have already seen these spreads because I did share them with you in that video. Only these two though, you won't have seen the next one because the next two reading spreads are in my new journal insert. I also needed to refill my fountain pen because it had run out, and I wanted to include the red ink to match the spread. I use this fountain pen for pretty much every writing that I do in my journal, so I will be continuing to use it throughout all of the reading journal spreads too. For the writing, there's no real system that I follow. I just write my thoughts at the time. Sometimes I'll be talking about the plot, sometimes I'll talk about the characters, sometimes I'll just say whether I enjoyed it or not. And I guess that's kind of how I rate the books that I read, just on whether I enjoyed it. I'm not particularly an expert on what fantastic writing is or how a novel should be, so yeah, it's just whether I personally enjoyed reading it. So I decided to give this one 5 stars because I just loved it so much, and I was very sad that it wasn't a trilogy because I just wanted the story to carry on at the end. So yeah, those were the first 2 spreads, and they really got me back into reading. So here we are on our next journal insert, and you can see that I have finally joined the ACOTAR reading series. I'm currently on book 2, and this is where I really wanted to create 2 themes around this book. So I ended up doing my reading journal spread, and then I also ended up doing a whole spread about a place within the book. For this one, I didn't decide to add the book cover. This is actually just a random picture that I found on the internet because I do like to, well, I did make the mistake of Googling on Pinterest like the book series because I was hoping to see what some of the main characters look like, because I do like to kind of have the same idea as what they look like as everybody else, especially as it's fantasy, because sometimes I find it hard to kind of envision what they will look like. So that was my intention, and then I accidentally made one spoiler for myself, which was kind of annoying, but obviously my own fault. So anyway, I decided to add this picture into the spread because this is kind of what I imagine Feyre and Tamlin, the main characters in this book, to look like. And I just thought it was a really cute picture. So I thought if I added it on, then I could kind of go with a red rose theme. I finally joined the Sarah J Maas gang and finally started reading. Again, it was my same pen pal that encouraged me to read this series because she thought, well, if I enjoyed the last series, then I would probably enjoy this one. And she was definitely right, because I have really been enjoying it, and I read this the same way as before, via audiobook and the physical copy from the library. So I will continue to do that throughout all of the series. And I've kind of been battling it out with somebody in taking them out from the library because somebody keeps having them on loan, like the book ahead of me. So unintentionally, I have managed to kind of get through the audiobook really quickly of the second book because someone has it on loan currently, so I can't read it right now. So that is why I've been focusing on the audiobook, and I'm over halfway already, so I'm kind of concerned that I'm going to actually finish the second book before I get the physical copy. So I already asked my mum to order me the third one so that I could kind of get ahead of whoever this other person is that's reading the series. But it's fine because I'll probably finish the third book super quickly, or maybe even before I even get it, so they'll be fine and they'll be able to get the book. But they are having them for a very long time, so I can't wait forever for the next book. So the reason why I've been really enjoying this book series is I like the characters to start with. I like the main character, Feyre. I think she's really interesting, and the thing that I love more is the world. I have been really enjoying learning about the world that this whole fantasy series is set in, and each place in the world is themed around this court, and they have night and day courts and also seasonal courts. So the first one is set in the spring court, so that is why I ended up making a whole spread about that, because the way that she described it, it just looked really pretty, and this picture of the spring court came up on Pinterest when I was looking, and it kind of inspired me to make a really cute spread about it. So that's what I ended up doing next, and that happens to also be my favourite reading spread that I've done altogether. So I'll probably continue to do that throughout this book series, because obviously they keep visiting new places that I haven't seen before or read about, so I will, when I do my next spread about the second book, I will do another spread about one of the places. Obviously, I won't give you any spoilers about what that place is, but if you've read it, then obviously you know what it is. I also want to know if any of you guys have read this series, because obviously I know it's huge on TikTok. Not that I actually use TikTok, but I've heard a lot about it and what you guys think about it, because I know some people really haven't enjoyed reading it. So I have jumped headfirst into this series and just fell in love with the world of the fantasy series. So I feel like I'm not going to stop reading fantasy anytime soon. I also find it weird because I never used to read fantasy. So when I used to read like regularly, like a few years ago, I used to read all the time. And I would never read fantasy. I would always read crime or romance. So it's been really weird because when I did start to pick up reading a few years ago, I then read the Shadow and Bone series, and that just like got me into fantasy as well. So yeah, I'm definitely a fantasy girly now, which is so strange to say because I never used to be. So yeah, they are all the books that I have been reading, and my to be read is also all fantasy books. So anyway, back to the spread. I wanted to only write a little bit of text on this one, just write some information about the spring court, because I didn't really know what else to write since I had already written my thoughts on the books and the places in the last spread. So I had this Lily of the Valley memo from pen pal Gabby C, who is my pen pal, and she also sells them on her Etsy. And then I used some of the green washi from Maragona Suli along with this girl sticker because I felt like it kind of resembled the main character Feyre, and at some point I imagined her in the spring court with flowers in her hair, just kind of painting. So that is why I added that sticker. And then I wanted this photo or picture, whatever, to be the main focus of the right hand side spread. So I kind of just drew little edges where the corners were so that I could then decorate around it, because I wasn't too sure how to do the decoration. So instead of keep moving it onto the page to figure out what was going underneath, I felt like it'd just be easier to do it this way. So then I continued to just cover up all of the space around where the picture would be using some different memos and washi tape, and obviously using lots of green because this place is in a forever season of spring. So I really wanted to really capture that, and I'm also excited already to create my next spreads because it will be about a different place. And I think it's important as well, if you've made it this far, to just remember that you don't have to have a reading journal. Like, I kind of felt bad not having a reading journal, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have one. But I don't need a reading journal because I can just make my reading spreads like this. And it is really fun to watch other people do their like monthly spreads at the start, and like they always make them look so beautiful. But because I just don't read enough books, it just seemed silly for me. But I also didn't want to miss out on making reading journal spreads or making spreads about things I've been reading. And I also wanted to still share them with you guys. So I hope that you do like this style of video, because if you do, then I will continue to record all of my reading journal spreads, and then I will just squish them all together like I have done here. And if you also have any book recommendations for me, please let me know, because I'm always adding to my to be read. It's just been so nice getting back into reading and just feeling like some sort of excitement about it. So yeah, I have to say thank you to my pen pals for that, because they're always talking about books or sharing their reading journal spreads, and it's just inspired me to get back into it. So I hope that if you haven't it has also inspired you. And thank you if you had made it this far, because this is a little bit of a different video for me, so I was a bit nervous about creating and posting it. And I'm not the most intelligent speaker about books, so I don't really know how to give good book reviews. It's not really something that I'm particularly an expert at. But back to the spread, I wanted to put the title as the name of the court, and I do really think that the way that I decorated this really captured the essence of what this place looks like in my imagination. I find it so interesting that some people imagine things so differently to others. So you might be looking at this, having read this book, thinking, I did not think that this looked like this at all. So if you have read it, I'd love to know if you think I captured the essence of the spring court well, because obviously everybody's minds work differently, and the writer can only steer us so much, which is kind of the beauty of reading. You can kind of make decisions for yourself about the characters, the places, what you think they might look like. So I finished this spread by adding just some extra little stickers, just to add some extra details, including lots of fairy stickers. I honestly love how this whole spread turned out. It's definitely one of my favourites. So I hope you have enjoyed my rambles about the books, and I hope I haven't spoiled anything. So if you have enjoyed, then please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can see more journal with me's in the future. I make a lot of journal with me's as well as pen pal content, so there's always stuff going on, and I am pretty good at posting a video every single week. So yeah, if you did enjoy, then you should definitely subscribe, because I also show a lot of my reading content within my cozy vlogs. So I've been adding in what I've been reading in there, as well as just general journaling that you might not see on the channel in a specific video for that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these spreads, and let me know if you have read any of these. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. And I will see you guys in the next one. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you later.